Welcome gamers to this one-off video of Panzer Corp 2 and really focused around the launch of the latest DLC, which is the very first of the Allied Operations DLCs. It's Italy Volume 1. You can see it at the top of the list there for the DLCs. These are all the different DLCs you can actually get for the game. They range in all sorts of different things, but mainly the game has been focused very heavily around the Axis operations. You can see Axis operations going from 1939. In fact, the Axis operations started in 1936. The Spanish Civil War, go up through the actual war years, and even beyond that into an ahistoric invasion of the USA in 1946. So there's a whole lot of different sorts of things you can actually sort of go and play with the game. So it's been very German centric, I guess, has been the focus of the game. With all those sort of wonderful machines of war that they sort of created through those years, so it's a fun game to play. Like it's a great game to play. I would consider it an entry level war game. And I say entry level not to dumb down the game. It's actually entry level because it's just so accessible. The mechanics are fairly easy to understand. Like it's not as if you need to be looking at books the whole time to figure out what every little thing is going to do. There's some basic concepts that are done incredibly well in this game that give you an instinctive understanding of what you're doing, but also it's a game where it's easy to play but difficult to master. So it's one of these games where you really, once you start to get the nuance of what you can and can't do, or not so much what you can't do, because I guess what you can do effectively in the game in terms of your forces. It's an incredible game, like just so deep with what it can actually get up to. It rates incredibly highly. And by the way, at the moment, the base game is 60% off. So now is a good time to jump in and grab the base game. There's a lot of content in the base game. So if you're sort of just thinking about getting into it, now is a good time. Now, before I get started, I do want to thank Slytherin for sponsoring this content. So thank you very much, Slytherin, for that. Tomorrow, or maybe the next day, it'll be a couple of days anyway, I'll be doing another video actually on Panzer Corp 2, looking at all of the different DLCs and what they bring. So that'll be sort of more of just a summary of what does go on with that. And I'm trying to think of whether I should actually talk about the different things you can do in terms of, like almost like a tutorial type sort of aspect of the game. Maybe do that even today a little bit, just to sort of talk about, how to approach the game, how to think about it, how to plan, like for your assault. I've got to say that I'm really blown away. I've played like the firsts of one of the scenarios and halfway through another scenario. It's taken me like 4 hours to get to that point. So there's a lot of content. Let me show you first of all the scope of the game and what it does do, and then I do want to show you the old version, and so you can just sort of see the difference between the new version and the old version. So if I just go back into new game and campaign. So we have, like this is the Wehrmacht campaigns, which I think this is all part of the base game. I think it is. But anyway, this is Allied Operations Volume 1. It's on its own at the moment, whereas when we have a look down at the at Axis Operations, we've got like a whole heap of them down here. So we've got the start of the Allied Operations up through here. And this is really just focused around the invasion of Sicily. And if I... that's about my level there of general. Just go and play. And so this one, I'll show you the concept of what this one actually is. So command the Allies through Operation Husky and free Sicily from Axis control. Now we've got two choices down the bottom here. We've got the American landing over here and the British landing back over this other side. The way that the game works, and the scenarios sort of get progressively larger as you start to play them. You've got 5 scenarios playing as the British with their landing on the eastern side of Sicily, and you've got 5 scenarios playing as the Americans on the western side and through the centre of Sicily, both sort of culminating back up at Messina. And the way it works, once you actually sort of get past the first 5 of each of these, like let's just say I'm playing the American and I play the 5 in through here. my forces that I start with, my core forces progress through the campaign. I then have other forces that come in as well as the actual campaign progresses. But essentially, you're trying to manage your core group and get them, with some veterancy and leveling up. Also with different heroes and things like that. So there's a lot of replay value in the game. It's sort of one of these games where it's part puzzle game as well, like in the sense that you've got a very curated series of scenarios that you have to overcome, and so save scumming or restarting scenarios may be your best option just as you start to sort of figure things out. So it's an interesting game in that perspective as well. So it's sort of and these games do tend to be puzzle-like games, like where there's where once you sort of understand, there was a river crossing there which really slowed me down. If I had this particular troop, it would have actually helped me in that scenario, and then sort of go back and play it. Or you may, like, if, for example, I've been playing the British landing back over through here, and I've only sort of really just sort of scratched the surface, but already I've had to restart the second scenario, and I really probably should restart the whole from the whole start, because I did lose some units in the very, very first scenario, which I may have needed later on in the game. But anyway, it's sort of interesting the way it does sort of kick in and work but with those first five. Then you actually have a combined, like once you've sort of played the first five as the British or the American, you then switch and play the next five as well. And then the combined groups that you then end up having join together for another 2 scenarios. So you've got a total of 12 different scenarios to play, which is a lot in this game. And as I said before, I'm only halfway through scenario 2, and it's taken me 4 hours so far to sort of get to that point. So just be aware that there is a lot of content. It's pretty cool the way it does work. If I go and I'll show you also like where I might even load up where I am with the game. I'm just trying to think of the best way to actually show you the difference of what the game is now from when it actually did first launch. It's and it really does blow your mind when you sort of start to see the scale of what goes on and why the game is changing. So if we go and accept this, and we can sort of see that, as the Allied invasion of Sicily begins, British airborne troops advance to secure key access points ahead of the main landings. Despite heavy winds and scattered landings, the small force seizes and holds Ponte Grande to open the road to Syracuse. So Syracuse is our first target, back in through here. So we'll go proceed. And by the way, the first 2 scenarios, I think you get to see the edges of Syracuse in scenario 2, but not scenario 1. So scenario 1 is really just about establishing the beachheads. Now, this is actually interesting. So in this campaign, you can earn commendation points by completing special and historical objectives. Opportunities to exchange commendation points for various rewards will be offered as the campaign progresses. And so there's a lot more, nuance to playing the game. It's not just a simple with the base game, like it doesn't actually have this sort of degree of, the secondary objectives that you can, and the historical objectives that you can then opt for to get other bonuses. In addition, you'll also create 2 core armies, one for the British and one for the Americans, which we just spoke about. Once you finish the landing and advance of one of the 2, you'll play the other faction and create their respective core army as well. So again, five missions for one, 5 missions for the other. Combine them together, then 2 missions after that is the way it sort of does work. In the scenario, due to its objectives, the turn limit is enforced regardless of advanced option settings. I should talk about this sort of stuff. Like, this is actually where the game devs have actually been listening to what people are asking for. Now, this is actually a big thing for me. I find that a lot of devs, probably most devs, actually won't change what they consider their design decisions for their games. They want you to play it their way. Whereas some devs, very, very few, will actually listen to what people want and then find a way of actually injecting that into the game. So for example, in this case, Like the base game, the way it's designed to be played is with a time limit. And so you've actually got to achieve your objectives within a time frame, which puts pressure on. And so you're sort of playing with pressure. In the last few DLCs, they've actually decided, okay, look, let's not do that, because people have been asking to be able to either have it relaxed or turned off. And so you can actually turn off the turn timer and play the scenarios at your own leisure. Personally, I prefer that. But some people will think, well, the designers want it to be with a turn timer, we should honour that. You can, just don't turn it off. If you're like me and you actually prefer it to be a bit more relaxed, a bit more thinking, etc., then yeah, turn it off. Like it's up to you. And I love that the devs, and they've done that a lot with this game. There's a lot of things that they've actually, innovations really, that they've actually brought in with the game as well that are really mind-blowing when you start to scratch the surface. And I think I'll actually do that in tomorrow's video, where I talk about the actual base game itself, and maybe sort of go through just some of the things that they've actually done to make this game just so special. Anyway, this is one of them, where you can turn it off. Now I do have it turned off, so I've got the turn timer turned off. But in this case, this first scenario relies on the turn timer, so you do need to have that one on when you do play this first scenario. So this is one where the scenario designer has thought, no, look, we really do need to have the turn timer on. Sorry guys, but you're stuck with the turn timer. So anyway, that's where we are there. And look, I know that some people will actually prefer to play the way that the games are designed to be played, and that's fine. It's your choice. You are the gamer after all. I do like that, again, that devs actually give the power of how to play their games back to the people who are playing them, rather than inflicting sort of like something that may make people uncomfortable. I've certainly got games that I know that I would enjoy a lot if it just allowed me to do little tweaks. But there's certain, like even save games during missions and things like that, having that sort of stuff turned off for some games is just like, for me, a crazy decision. But anyway, it's just. But in this case, the devs listen and they adapt and they adopt, what they hear for the game, which is great. Right, so the first thing we have to do is to basically choose what our strengths are. We've got 2 selections remaining here. Now, I think that there's actually in the options you can change how many of those selections you end up getting as well. Like you can customize all sorts of things in the game. I would never, ever, ever, ever recommend clicking on randomize. What you'll find is what I would recommend for the devs would be to have a slider of just how many choices it will make. From hardly any through to like the amount of negatives. These are the negatives over through here, the weaknesses. These can be debilitating. Like really, honestly, 1 or 2 of these can absolutely crush you. If you get 2 of these, even though you've got the benefits back over through here, the benefits do not outweigh the negatives. The negatives are really, really difficult. And if you click randomize, in this case, what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not too bad. If I go back and do it again, what have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can end up with a crazy number of these negatives, which some of them aren't so bad, but some of them are just absolutely terrible. And if you end up with them cascading like this together, you are going to really struggle in the game. Even if you end up with all these different positives as well, it really just doesn't outweigh. The positives don't outweigh the negatives. And so I do not suggest that you play with randomize if you're new to the game. I tried that a few times and it was just crushing. It's terrible. But if there was a slider about how much randomization, like how many choices it will make, that would be cool. Like if it, even if it just had like randomize and you've only had the 2 points for the positives, like going from zero negatives, up to, I really anything beyond like 3 or 4 of them is just crazy, like in terms of trying to be able to play the game. It makes it very, very hard. I'm guessing some of you may disagree with that, but I would love to see a slider down here where you can actually have the variance for the randomization of these choices, because I just can't play with randomize on. One thing I tend to do, and I won't sort of spend too much time with this, is I tend to default now to infantry general, where I end up with more slots, more ability to actually add more units into the game with infantry. Infantry is very, very important in the game. They like everything is, but it is like, for me, that's just a bit of a go-to. If I'm so I'll just accept that one for this one here. I'm not going to be playing the scenario, but I do want to sort of show where we actually are with this one through here. So what we end up having here is really, this is just a landing in the southern coast of Sicily, 10th of July. Let's just end the briefing. I won't sort of go and play that one. One of the innovations that has come in, for a fair while now, has been the heroes, actually adding heroes to specific units. So we've got Arthur Brown. We've got he's good at river assaults. This is actually interesting. Every time you play the scenarios, you end up with a different a different perspective of, for the heroes. The heroes actually tend to come in with the same name, I think, but they do come in with different abilities, which means that every time you play the game, you will actually be able to, exploit what the heroes can then provide for you as they sort of do different things. So, for example, this guy is a river assault guy, ignores combat penalties from rivers. And let me just show you again. I'll pause and restart so you can sort of see that it's random each time. Oh no, it's a different guy. Okay, so we've got Ronald Davis in this case. He's a camouflage expert, can only be detected by recons and adjacent ground units. So this will then, change the way that you play the game. And it's sort of funny, like in this particular map, that river crossing guy would have been really, really valuable to actually have in the game itself. So I can just close that one with the actual heroes. I'm sort of torn whether to sort of show how to approach the game in this. Maybe I will do it in this video. But anyway, I just want to sort of give you a bit of a perspective as to where we are in Sicily. If we have a bit of a look up through here, that I think maybe the outskirts of Syracuse, back up through here. Like the map is called To Syracuse. You sort of, as you sort of zoom in, you'll start to sort of see terminology on the actual map itself. I'm not sure if that's Syracuse back in through there. But there are sort of there's a port then through there. It's not giving me any information about what that town is. I don't think it is. I think it may be something different entirely. But you see that we've got built up. This is Ponte Grande back in through here, and then we actually have industrial land across this other side of where we are. We've got Putney back in through this other side as well. These are little towns. Mosquito Battery, which is just a battery there. This is going off to Pechino. So Pechinio is actually it's more to the south. So this is actually just coming in just above, sort of there's a little area that sort of pops out from Sicily, and so that is actually so that's more south of where we actually are. And so these are the initial landings by the special forces to actually then go and try to take the bridgehead at Ponte Grande. So this is actually the objective of this one. We've got landing forces across here, and you'll see that there's been some landing forces that have already been killed as they tried to land. There was crash landings in the actual in these landings for Sicily. So it's the difference here is that you sort of see it's very wide open. The scale is very, very broad. With the actual overall approach, for example, they've got multiple village locations across through here. So this is just one coastal village, which takes many, many hexes, which is again. So it's got a sense of scale, which is very, very you're talking probably hundreds of meters really with what you're sort of seeing with the actual units themselves. We're seeing some of the new things that have come into the game. Like this is actually a pillbox back in through this other side. So a wooden pillbox has not been part of the game before, so it's been added in just for the in this particular DLC. There's wooden pillboxes and machine gun nests. So the two units, which are sort of now two standard units, which have been brought in with the DLC. We've got things, for example, like this is LZ2, and the briefing will go through what everything in this sort of how it works. We've got some some Italian infantry back down through here as well. There's some interesting Italian infantry that we do come up against. When you're actually having a look at LZ1, we do have control over. We do actually have landing forces back down here to try to go and take things. We've also got airborne forces coming in as well. So it gives us a lot of scope to play the game. What I like to do with these games, like no matter what sort of game it actually is, with a war game, is really try to get a feel for what we're going to be up against. If I press the number 5 key, or if I press this one over through here, this is the strategic mode, which actually does give you a good snapshot of not just your units and the enemy units that you can see, but also the terrain that you're going to be fighting into. Now, often in the deployment phase, you'll actually be able to go and buy units, but we don't have any. We are just playing with the units that have been given to us in this first scenario. So this is why I don't want to spend too much time with this first scenario, but I do want it so because you don't have any real choice here other than where you drop your airborne forces, and also where your landing forces will land and how you want them to sort of then approach different points. Like, will they come in and support this grouping through here or not? So purchasing is not really what we want to have. This is actually our current list. This is the unit list in through there. I can sort of bring that one out. I know that I always forget to turn that off when I'm playing the game, which I know annoys people because I don't like to be seeing this on the side. But initially with the deployment, it is important to know what you have and what they do. Right, so we've actually got sort of like different forces, for example, out this way. You'll see that some of them don't actually have movement initially. Well, this is the deployment phase, so none of them have got movement. But these are on this side of the river, so these are actually some airborne forces which have actually sort of dropped on this side. Yeah, we've got, what have we got through there? That's a destroyed sort of recon force back into this other side, but we've got this river. Rivers, when you play this at this sort of scale, become extremely important to get across because you really like. And so, getting across Pont Grande is going to take some effort and take some thought as to how we actually then have to go and do that. And we can see that there's a pillbox in through here again as well, and we also then have the different Italian forces actually holding this particular railhead which goes across this river. So these ones will be actually easy enough to hit, simply because they're set up on a dangerous location. So this is where the actual game itself has got like a lot going for it in terms of really trying to make the best of the scenario. Sorry, not the scenario, the topography, because in most war games do sort of like where you really do have to consider how you are going to try to get across different I guess, difficult terrain, and rivers are a major difficult terrain. In fact, this case, you can see it's just a minor river, but it still actually has a whole lot of different things going for it. Like, it's close terrain, but it's also a vulnerable position, which means that you can see down through here when I hover over that one, enemy units will get a +4 attack and +4 defense when attacking this hex. So you can attack from the hex, but if you get attacked into the hex, you suffer some big negatives. And so it's sort of one of these ones that's a bit easy to, for attackers to hit anything that's actually stationed on a river. You also then have other things in through here, for example, like secondary objective. This is actually one of the objectives for what we have to then go and do. Minor river. So minor rivers can significantly slow down the offensive. Most ground units spend all movement points in order to cross a minor river unless there is a bridge or bridging unit available. And then we've also got railroad. So railroads are used by units with rail movement, like train, etc., etc. And then we've just got different movement points for going across the rail bridge, which is actually in there as well. So this just goes through what Putney has got going for it. But if I go to any of these locations, we'll sort of see that this one again, vulnerable position all the way along, including this bridge here. This is a Pont Grande, but it's still going to be vulnerable position. And so it's it's a difficult one, but it's not. This one's not considered. It's a minor river. Actually, what do we have in through here? We've got close terrain back and through these other sides. This is more open, which again it impacts the way that you then got to plan how you might be going into an attack. Like, this is much more open for attack by mechanized forces, for example, rather than the close combat, which is more suitable for infantry. And so we're looking at, for example, this is bocage and a minor river, which gives the bocage is what's giving us the close terrain, and the minor river is giving us this vulnerable position. Whereas when we're back in through here, this is clear minor river, and clear is what tanks like to operate in. So we've got bocage and clear next to each other through there, close terrain, open or clear, there's no benefit for infantry to be fighting out in the clear. So knowing where those little bits and pieces are is very important with the placement of where you start to then move your forces. If I press this strategic mode, excuse me, I can then see exactly what tiles are impacting what. And so the bocage all the way through here, all this bocage is very, very much suitable for fighting with with infantry, because it's all close. So we've got close terrain in through here. So so in close terrain, infantry units and other units with close combat trait shoot against the opponent's close defense rating, which is usually much lower than ground defense. So this makes infantry extremely dangerous in close terrain. So this really does, like if you're playing on a map where there's a lot of close terrain, like we're seeing it all the way through here, this is all close terrain. As we sort of come back down, we then go into the countryside, which is open. So this is much more suitable for tanks. But then we sort of find these villages. Villages are also close terrain. So we end up with these areas which are very defendable for infantry, with some areas in the middle here which are sort of a bit more open. Also, when you're looking at it in strategic mode, it's very easy to see what class of unit you're actually are dealing with. Like we're dealing with infantry back over this other side. Doesn't tell me whether it's this one is heavy infantry. So we've got heavy infantry inside that particular group. Maybe I will talk a little bit about how the game does work, just if you are newish to the game, or even if you're not. Like if it's sort of just one of those things, I always like to look at it from this perspective to see, what opportunities do I have for different things. You'll see also down through here, hills are different again. This is a hill has got like a high ground. So high ground is in an advantageous position. All units get +1 spotting. Range units get +1 range. So if we're looking at artillery are great in the hills. Melee units get +10% accuracy when defending against attacks from low ground. At the same time, units attacking high ground from low ground get a -10% accuracy penalty. This makes high ground hexes formidable defensive positions. And so if the enemy are inside, like on a hill, then we'll have to find a way to knock them out of the hill. If we can claim a hill, we might as well do it. So we've got these different things. So looking at the different terrain that we see around the place really does have a big bearing on what's going on. And the hills are considered close terrain. So tanks don't do well in hills. We've got rough terrain down through here. And rough terrain, even if we have a look at what can actually happen through here, we do actually have like base entrenchment. You can entrench better into rough terrain than not, but it's still actually open, which means that tanks can operate effectively in rough terrain. If we hover in through this other side, it takes a bit more movement to move through these. Like the feet are 1.5, movement points. Tracked units are 2, so tanks are 2 to move through there. But you can see just, like even just with a handful of different terrain types on the actual map itself, there's a lot of nuance. And again, of course, the rivers make it very, very vulnerable for anything to be on top of those and then be attacked. To being attacked when you're on a river is really not good. And so it makes even little things like if we were trying to get this force of units in through here across this bridge, do we actually have access to get not just to stop there, but to actually get all the way across? And again, if I hit that hex, I can see it's close terrain, but it's also a vulnerable position. So if any of these units end up there, that's not going to be very good for us if we're trying to get them back across the river. It may be that we think, let's move them up even higher and move them in behind these other units so we can at least get across the river up through here, because it'll take one turn to cross the river. If we have a look at the actual she says that's only bocage. It's not actually talking about the minor river there, but the river crossings do stop you from movement. Like to tell us there, minor rivers significantly slow down the offensive. Most ground units spend all movement points in order to cross a minor river. So you move on to it, then you then stop on it, then the next turn you're moving off. Is essentially the way it does work, which makes rivers extremely interesting, but also extremely dangerous. So just be aware of that when you are sort of planning how you're going to then be approaching things. And so the interesting thing with this first scenario is essentially that you've got like a core force here, and the idea of this core force is to move them up towards these objectives. So that's going to be sort of what you're going to be fighting for with this group. and if I just press number 5 again, or you unpress that one through there, we'll then sort of be able to then just sort of look at it for a bit more of a pleasant sort of sense, I guess. Now with these, I really can't do anything in this first deployment phase, so I'll just end the deployment phase because really there's no choice for us to make. Actually, yes, there is. Sorry, one thing we have to do in the deployment phase is to add the heroes in. So we have to make a choice as to who's going to get that hero. Now the hero that we had, if we just go and select any old unit, I'll just go and choose one of these ones with the trucks. There's 2 units with trucks. The other ones don't have trucks. If I go back into assign hero, your camouflage, so it can only be detected by recons or adjacent ground units. So who do we want to have sort of operating behind enemy lines, or sort of like being able to essentially sort of stay hidden. Now interestingly, we actually already have units that can do that. So if we have a look at this one, we've got the engineers. They don't get that as a choice, but down through here we've got paratroopers, infantry, heavy weapons. Paratroopers don't have this. I think we've got a few down through here. Paratroopers, SAS. I think SAS may have it. I'm not seeing the benefit there of what they've actually got. Unit details. It's funny, I thought SAS don't. SAS, it's all just SAS. Okay. There is also commandos. Commandos have it natively. So who do we want to give it to? Like as in who would make the best use of it? And I'm thinking that maybe the paratroopers might be sort of like a better option. I would be thinking that things like heavy weapons would be cool, just to actually have like a force that hits harder than anything else. Like as I hit these, you can sort of see these do 13 damage against both soft and hard targets with what they end up doing. Engineers do less damage, but they sort of have more abilities. But again, who do I need to keep hidden? Like it's interesting because if we had the previous one with the river crossings, that would have probably been heavy weapons, just to sort of to be able to sit them on a river and have it as almost like as a hard point to be able to defend without any negatives. That would have been a really good one in this map. To be honest, would have been fantastic to have that one. I'll give it to the paratroopers in this case. So I can just go in and assign hero. Got the camouflage. So you have to do that. That's the one thing you do have to do in the deployment phase of this particular one. So quite often it might be an idea to just sort of save the game. I'll just go in the deployment. So you have some core unit slots which could be used to purchase more units for the upcoming battle. Because we chose the infantry commander, we end up with we don't fit the core slots aren't filled up, but I can't buy any. So so you sure want to end your turn? Yes, we do. And now we're into the actual game itself. Now if I press again, or have a look over through here on the strategic mode, we'll now start to sort of see every single little button here gives you, this one can fire, it can move, and it's got full hit points. And similarly with the enemy, we can sort of see that they've got the full hit points as well. So we can very quickly sort of see different aspects of what we're actually looking at with everything. Now we no longer have vision out through this other side. We did before. And so we are aware that there's like a wooden pillbox there. I don't think we can actually. Maybe we can. If I just press, I'll just go back to here again. Yeah, so we are aware of that one there, but we no longer really have the vision. So we've got it's now like previously we could sort of see what was where. We know that there's a force here, for example, an enemy force, and there'll be others around. So we've got all these different SAS groups that now have to come back in and sort of take over different areas. So even when you're trying to figure out where to land, where do you need to go? We can't see what's actually on the land. We do actually have, for example, this is hills in through here. We've got hills all the way around here. And again, just pressing the number 5, we've got hills there and bocage there. So we have a defensive ability there. We also have a defensive ability back over here. So can we get one of the groups to help out down in here, or do we want them up in here where there is actually all the way around this other side is very defensive? We already know that there's some defenders there. I'm thinking we just keep all the troops together and just have them all move up very, very quickly together. So I'm thinking if we're going to be attacking in this case, I might send some of these down into this particular region just to sort of see what's where. So with that in mind, again, I'll just press the number 5 key and just go back in. So I'm going to land here, where I do actually have the option to go into both of these. Let's just go into this one. It's now showing me that we've actually got German forces in here. We've got a hard point in here as well, which has got like 10 selections. This is a fort. And so the fort will have different abilities as well. I won't go into too much detail as to what to do, but as you start to bring things in, I can see that that's clear. This one's not. I mean, unless they've got other camouflage units then there themselves, which they won't have. And I can then move off, but these guys don't actually have a shot in the first turn. So these actually, when they land, use up their action for firing. They can't actually do anything, but I can still get them into a defensive location. So at the moment, they're not in a defensive location. The SAS, forced march, bunker killers, paratroopers, and close combat. So any of the infantry, if I go and click on this infantry here, it's still going to be close combat and then forced march back and through there. So with that unit there, I can always come back and do the movement. Let's go and move this one up into here. That's interesting. We can now see that there's actually a... so I can move off into the bocage, and then we actually have a 75mm gun on this hill here. So at least I've got the choice. So let's just go and move this one in. We're still encircled in here, so it means that we're going to essentially not be able to pick up ammo until we sort of clear out this encirclement. We also have troops in here, so let's go and move these in. You can see it's clear back in through this other side, and we do actually still have back over here more hills, and then it's clear there, a bit of rough there. So this one here is a good one. Let's just move this one across. This one's now encircled, so it also will now start to suffer. This one's not encircled, so we do actually have abilities in through here. I'll just go into, what have we got there? This is dunes. So dunes, again, just having a bit of a look, high ground, close terrain, and we do get a bit of entrenchment in dunes as well. So I could actually just bring this particular group back into the dunes, and we can then just start to sort of get ready to move in. In fact, from there, I can see that we've actually had other forces that didn't make it. But I can actually move all the way in around to here, and it looks like it's all clear. Like I shouldn't be finding camouflaged units. So I can sort of start to just cause issues down in this other side. Now we've encircled this one as well. And I can't really break out from in here. So what I will do is I'm just going to move this one up now. I've now got the choice of where I move it. So I've got this one, and the reason I thought, well, this is probably safe enough for me to do it, for the simple reason that we're actually in a village. So the terrain that we're actually in, the village terrain, is here. And so we do get a little bit of a base entrenchment. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult for the enemies to attack us while we actually are in here. So we'll now bring these across as far in here as we can take them. And again, we can sort of start to sort of see that we've got different forces this way. We'll just go and encircle all of these now. So we've now cut these off, and I'll move this one in as well. And what I might do is I'll just put that one on the road. And again, I can just bring them in, which means that we're going to have like a lot of hitting power in the next phase. So that's sort of, I guess, that's an approach. Again, you can decide how you're going to handle it yourself. We do need to dislodge these different batteries. One of the objectives, if I just get rid of that one for a second, this is the mission overview. So victory objective, capture and hold Pont Grande by turn 16. Special objectives, capture Putney as well. So we have like a secondary objective through there. And then the historical objective is destroy all fortified positions. There's 5 of them. And destroy all coastal batteries. There's 4 of them. So Nat, Mosquito, Emmanuel, Russo, and Lambda Doria. So these all give us different other abilities ultimately in the game. So they are things that we do want to be going and getting, like the Mosquito battery, etc., Nat battery. So yeah, just with these different different fortified positions. It won't. I don't think it may tell us actually on the map if I just press number 5. I don't know if it'll tell us which ones we then have to go and do. I know that there is sometimes it will tell you that they're objectives, but maybe not in this case. No, I'm not seeing it there. Now this first mission really does sort of ease you into the combat. It eases you into the different types of units. Certainly the SAS forces, the sort of like minimal equipment that you've actually got in through here, which you have to be very, very careful of. The Italians will come at you. They'll come at you pretty hard. Just press number 5 again. But it's a really, really cool game. So anyway, I wanted to show you just how intimate this sort of scenario actually is, and then show you something completely different. So just bear with me, guys. We're going to go back to the main menu, and we'll look at the original Sicily campaign for Panzer Corp 2. If we go into New Game and Campaign, and Italy, which starts off with Sicily. And so we'll just go and play this one. This one we're playing from the Axis perspective. So this is part of the base game. So if you're sort of thinking, why would I need to play a Sicily map if I've already got Sicily in the base game? Let me show you why.
To reinforce our former Italian friends against the Allied invasion of
In the
Sicily.
briefing, it's really the scale. So you can see down through here, like things are sort of completely different, where it's all now mountainous, which is very, very different to working with the hills. So it's the whole layout is quite different. The whole perspective is different. In this case, if we have a look at some of these words, some of the places, this is Pechino. So our landing, what do we got through there? This is Avola, and back up here is Cassibile, and then Syracuse. So the landing point that we had was, I think, here. I think that's it there. So that's all we're playing on for that whole scenario is probably this or this. I don't know which one, but it's one of these two. So and so that's the difference. This is much more a broad scale. The units sort of represent many more sort of forces. It's still the same concept of having like a 1 unit per hex, and the different sort of classes of units. But in this case, the scenario that we have, in fact, if I zoom right out, you just sort of see that like it's pretty much most of Sicily. So it goes all the way up to the top. And so this is all just done in one scenario, whereas for us with the Allied operations, it's 12 scenarios to play out pretty much what this one does in a single scenario. So it's quite starkly different to sort of see that we're not playing in a big area. We're literally just playing in like 1 or 2 hexes in terms of scale with the new Allied operation. What I might do is I might just also bounce across now and show you a few of the other little things that I've been able to find so far in the playthrough that I've been doing. Let me just load in where I currently am. Back in through here. So this is actually part of the second operation. Actually, if I go back to the start of the second operation, which is in turn 16 through there. This is the end of the first mission. Let me just show you this. So if we just go and load this one in. Now, I did lose some units, which may have been better for me to restart. This is when we by turn 16, by the end of that particular scenario, my forces that we had seen back and through here, the SAS forces had now moved across, and we're trying to get Mosquito Battery. I never got that, so I didn't quite get that one done. We have other, like again, more of the paratroopers. So I had paratroopers helping out the SAS as well. So we sort of had claimed all of these different areas down through here as well. So they were all taken, but not this one over through here. So Mosquito Battery wasn't taken, but the other batteries were, and all the other defensive positions were. So that was the one area that I didn't actually get to take. Back in through here, we took Putney. We've sort of extended all the way up to the top of the map. We're all also even up through here with different units. So we ended up sort of like where we need to be. One of the interesting things with this, I don't think we can actually sort of, you can see that I can actually bring units in, except I've got nowhere in this map to bring them into. So we can capture units. So in this case, I've got these captured 75mm artillery, which I can then go and make use of. And I also found some mortar teams, which I can make use of as well. So we can start to use the equipment of the captured equipment that we actually do to actually have. So I don't actually have anything that's core game, but I could, for example, like I've got my core slots are down a little bit. Sorry, I'll just go back out to the list. If I go back to my lost units, some of these were lost at the start of the game, but I did lose units that I really shouldn't have lost. So I don't know if that's going to bite me at the back end of the game, but I did lose a few of these. There were already a dead list there anyway with the actual game itself. But if I just go and end my turn in here, so if I just go and, oops, hang on, where is it? End turn. I can then sort of play the next, like the start of the next scenario. They're fighting down the bottom here. That always defaults to being on, and I want to sort of just in the debriefing. I won't sort of show you those bits and pieces. So this is actually where we end up with the the different units that have then sort of expanded or gotten a bit of veterancy. And this is really the idea, is to sort of bring these forward, and so that they do get the experience that you can then take forward. You can see I've got 2 heroes with the actual groups themselves. Actually, I didn't know that you could actually have multiple heroes with the same unit. That's interesting. Anyway, looks like you can. I've never even thought you could do that before. Anyway, that's interesting. We'll just go and continue, but you can go and replay the mission if you think, oh, I could have done that better. So this is where the replay value does come in. It's a bit of a puzzle to be able to sort of nut your way through the different missions. So again, the next phase is still not at Syracuse. Launches a coordinated amphibious landing between Pekino and Avola. So this is actually further south than where we were. So I think we've got a beachhead up through here somewhere. Maybe on that river there is probably where we've got the beachhead. And now we're going down to Pekino to actually sort of take this one out. Just go proceed. And now we get to start to sort of place the different types of units. And so if I just end the briefing here. Before we commence, a matter of requiring your attention. So again, we've got now a new hero. And so if we just go, we have to now choose, is he going to be infantry or tank class? The reason I had to restart was that I chose tank class, and then there really wasn't any good tanks for him to be part of. And the tanks aren't very effective in this package. So infantry was my better option. And so this one here is a first aid. It restores 1 point of strength every turn the unit did not attack. This one I don't think is random, because I noticed that it's been this first aid one multiple times now. So that one can be added in to help with survivability. It's not a massively important one. And then we actually have already sort of select units back in through here. I'm guessing what I could do would be to completely reset these. Bring units back in. So the idea here is that we attack Pekino airfield with different groups, and then sort of start to move forward. Again, I won't sort of play it all out, but the things we do actually have that are different here is we've got the deployed units back in through here. We have undeployed units. So many of these have come from our original group. In fact, you can see there we've still got the hero that we had assigned to that one there. I don't know where the second hero is. This is where I probably should have kept my heroes. I should have been a bit more judicious about who I actually brought that one through. I think I might have given it to SAS. Again, a bad move on my part. I don't think I can actually move that one across. Anyway, I can just sort of go and, because this one's got some veterancy, I can start to spend my points just to sort of go and get elite replacements for each of these before we deploy them. So just go and grab those. So you should have a few points just to bring those in. Got the paratroopers. Oh, let's just see if we can actually add a hero. Yeah, we've got 2 heroes for that engineer group. Interesting. Okay, I didn't know you could do that. So that's something I've just learnt. I think I can actually go into that group as well and just go back into heroes, assigned heroes. Oh, hang on, filter by name. No, that's not what that's nothing we can really do at this point in time. So in the deployment phase, we get to do that aspect. So it looks like I can't undo that. So again, you need to restart if you did want to do that one. If I go back to here and then undeploy, can I do that? And disband them. I can't undeploy them. Okay, that's interesting. So quite often you can actually take them off the, we've got upgrades. Yeah, I can't actually really affect these at all. These are just where they are. Or can we actually undeploy all? Oh, I can. Can't undeploy those, but I can undeploy the others. And if I then go back into deployment, I then can choose where I can place everything. So by all means do that. Like, I don't know why I can't do these. These infantry here are ones that actually can't be deployed. But I could actually then look at the map. Again, just press number 5 or go to this strategic terrain where a tank's going to be able to operate. And really when we have a look at it, they can operate up through here before they get to this river. This road network through here is okay. But really, like all of this tight terrain in through here, this rough terrain isn't too bad. So getting them into there, away from the bocage, out through here, there's a little gap where they could actually be effective. So possibly, keep all your tank forces together again. But just again, looking at the actual map itself, it really is so beneficial trying to plan which units are going to fight where. And so what I don't want to have is tanks really going up against these sorts of tight areas initially. And again, we can sort of see that this is this whole area that we're playing for this one here. There's Avola, which we did see on the other map, and Pacino. This is 2 hexes or 3 hexes worth of combat in the base game. But anyway, look, I won't spend too much time going through everything here. We've got landing forces as well. There's a whole lot of stuff in it. Like it's a very, very cool sort of group of scenarios from what I can sort of see so far. A lot of replay value. But I did want to sort of just show the difference between this and the base game, like this sense of scale. And I really do like it a lot. I like a hell of a lot. But I've actually, I'm closing in on an hour now, and really the idea of it was just to sort of show you what this one did have. Oh, by the way, I will actually show you a few other little things. I'll just show you, actually, if I go back in, just go back in and go to purchase units. So, and I'll just go to all. So in this case, we actually have British and Canadian troops. So the Canadians don't have as much, but the British certainly are all there. If I just go to all, I can then sort of see everything that we end up having. Now, we will ultimately also pick up some troops like these, for example, down here. You'll see that there's not a real lot of choice initially for us to bring different things in. I've got 8 points to set up, so I can actually go and do other things. I've got commendation points back and through this other side from the first phase. So it may be beneficial to bring in different aircraft to sort of have them actually be able to help you. But you also can start to make use of the captured equipment. So you can actually sort of bring these. In this case, we've got 75mm, a couple of 75s, and we've got a couple of mortar teams as well, which we could bring in to sort of help us out. So they're options as well. So you end up sort of capturing different units. But beyond that, as you play the game as well, like because you can always sort of drop units in now with these sort of standard scenarios. If I just go back out and close this, and then just load in where I'm currently am. So I'll just go DASO 3 and load. This is about halfway through that scenario where I've, as I said before, I had to restart because I did screw up around Pacino a little bit. So we're moving off, but what's happened here is we've actually been able to capture anti-tank guns of the Italians, and the Italians actually had really good artillery and anti-tank sort of equipment. And I think if I now have a look at the purchase units, I can then go and do. If I just go to all and then go down to captured units, we've now got this one here. This little beauty is the M41M DA 9053, which I've never heard of before, but this is a absolute killer in terms of, like, this is an anti-tank gun. If I go to anti-tank and through here, it's a mechanized anti-tank. but it's got an incredible gun on it. It's a 90 millimeter gun, which is really, really big. Like if we have a look at the other anti-tanks in through here, for example, this one has got like a hitting power of 20 for the heart attack. This is the 2-pounder, which has got a hitting power of 2. This one here has got a hitting power of 26. So it really is very, very cool. And this is like captured equipment. Now, when you actually look at the Steam page on it, it doesn't tell you about these Semi-Vonti M41s that you can actually then make use of, that you can then go and capture. I don't know if these are in the base game or not. If you do play as Italy in 1943, like if you play, in fact, I'm sorry guys, I do this a lot. I'm now just going to go off and go back to the main menu, exit. Do we get to use those if we play as Italy in the random maps? New game, random scenario. I love this as well. This what they've done here, 1943, Italy, back in through this other side, and we'll just go advanced. We'll just go play. This is where I wish that this was more intimate in terms of the scale now of the map. Like you sort of, now that you sort of see what the scenario developers are doing and designers are doing with their with their actual scenario maps, this becomes really quite different. Let's just go and accept this one. So again, we end up with I guess it's it's still pretty good with the different rivers and things in through here. But if we go and have a look at the different units, recon, anti-tank. We've got the 75 on that one through there. If we just go back to purchase, do we get to use those? Anti-tank. Oh yeah, no, it is there. Okay, it is there. The Semi-Vonti. So anyway, that is. I thought it was a new unit, to be honest, but it's a real killer. So it actually is there as part of the random maps as well. I just wanted to see it. Is it there? And this, again, random maps can be a good way of you to being able to think, okay, what sort of units are we likely to find and likely to come up against? You can sort of start to see different groups. One of the things with the defence of Sicily, you do actually get some German units as well. You'll often find that there'll be more German aircraft that you're sort of coming up against. So there will be, in fact, this one does have Stukas in here, but these are driven by the Italians. But in the scenarios, there will be Messerschmitts that you'll be going up as well against. Anyway, let's not sort of keep on going on with this one. I'll just close that one back off and go back out to the main menu. But really, really awesome DLC. So a lot of content, a lot of replay value, a lot of just play value, to be honest. If I'm halfway through scenario 2 and it's taken me 4 hours, I don't know how many hours it's going to end up to actually play through the whole lot. So there's a lot of gameplay, I guess, and very. I'm really impressed with the quality of what they've been able to do in each scenario, more so than the original scenarios of the game. Like, it really is a big step forward. I mean, they've done that as well with some of the other DLCs, but I will actually leave it there, guys. So I just wanted to sort of scratch the itch, I guess, if you sort of are interested in what this one actually does present and what it does actually bring to the table. I will be in the next day or two bringing out another video on Panzer Corp 2, really just going through, I guess, the history of the game and also the different DLC. So this will be sort of like a bit of it won't be a deep dive into each of them, but maybe just a bit of a discussion, just showing what they do present and so on and so forth. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, guys. So thanks for watching, and yes, I'll be give it a couple of days, and then if you are interested in the actual DLCs, maybe sort of I might even try to have a look and see how they've been received by the players. Certain DLCs rate very, very highly, and other ones people actually don't particularly like for whatever reason. So I'll go through maybe and just talk about that as well. But again, remember, at this point in time, the base game is 60% off. So if you are wanting to get into this incredible game, then now's a good time. Catch you later.